Welcome back to Biz Talk, everyone. I am your host today, Rachel Weaver, and I have a very special guest with us today, David Aaronson. David has been a successful commercial mortgage banker for over 40 years. During this time, he has arranged debt and equity capital for commercial and real estate investors and developers throughout the United States. Thanks to his many years of structuring real estate transaction, he is accruing accurately aware of the opportunity for property owners to capitalize on this generational opportunity to sell and own EV charging stations. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today, David.
Thank you, Rachel. Look forward to working with you and helping people understand what's going on in the EV charging world when it comes to multifamily.
Well, this is really exciting because as these charging stations become more and more popular, as we have a greater need for them, which is only going to increase, I believe, it's a really good topic of conversation to educate people. So let's talk about it. The introduction to REVS. Explain this to us. Can you provide an overview of the Refuel EV Solutions?
Sure. Basically, what Refuel EV Solutions is seeking to do is to own and operate a national network of EV charging stations in multifamily properties. Why multifamily? Because multifamily has a captive audience. Every night, there are hundreds of residents who live in these apartment projects who will park their cars overnight. And that's the preferred time to charge your car, when it's sitting there overnight, when the utility rates are low. So we look at multifamily properties as the top of the food chain when it comes to refueling electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
All the other property types will be used, but it's only if that apartment resident doesn't get refueled at home.
Very good. That makes sense. So, what inspired the creation of REVS, and what problem does it aim to solve in the electric vehicle infrastructure?
That's a good question. Well, the first, to answer the first, is I consider this installing EV charging stations to be what I call a real estate infrastructure play.
Mm-hmm.
While the industry currently looks at it as an amenity to having an EV charging station on your property, the reality of it is over time, it's going to become a necessity. Because if you can't refuel your residents' vehicles at home where it's most convenient for them, they're going to go find somewhere where they can take advantage of that convenience. Our entire society is moving to a convenience-based society. You look at it through the internet, you look at it through Grubhub and all the Uber. It's all about providing convenience to our society. And being able to refuel your electric vehicle at night when you come home from work is convenient. Going to a gas station, I haven't found one person who says that's the highlight of their day.
Absolutely not.
So that's one thing. And then I think what got me into this is just after being in the real estate industry all these years, I had a desire to get into what I call the infrastructure business. And so what we're doing is no different than building a toll road or a freeway and waiting for the people to come. That's what we're doing. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take years before we have a national infrastructure of refueling stations to where, just like we do gas stations today. I mean, 100 years ago, they were transitioning from the horse and buggy to the gas car, and the same challenges exist.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same challenges, and that is, how are we going to get refueled? Well, we answered the problem. Texaco, by 1929, I think, was the first company to have gas stations in every state. Back then, there was only 48 states. But they were the first one. And now, of course, you see a gas station on every corner. EV refueling stations are going to be everywhere. But the priority is going to be putting them in where you live. And so that's where people will choose to, that'll be their preference as far as where they choose to refuel their car.
I love that. So that is so true. We are all about convenience, and no better time to recharge than when we're at home, sleeping, really.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
preparing for our day. So how does REVS contribute to the advancements of electric vehicle adoption and sustainability efforts?
Well, I like to think that we do it because we are installing EV charging stations in multifamily properties. They're about a third of the residents in this country live in rental properties. And so for there to be full adoption and a full transition to electric vehicles, we have to figure out a way to get those people who live in multifamily properties an opportunity to refuel their cars, just like the people who live in a single family residence have that convenience. So, and by the way, it's not necessarily easy to do multifamily properties, because the one thing I've learned is that every multifamily property has one thing in common. They don't have enough excess electricity to put up enough charging stations to meet the future demand. They may have enough to meet the demand for the next 4 or 5 years, but one of these days during most of these properties' lifetime or useful lifetime, they're going to have hundreds of cars that are electric in those parking lots and may only be able to accommodate 2 or 4 charging stations. So that's the reality of the business. But we think because we're dealing with a tough situation in these apartment properties that we're helping the transition.
Love that. So, in what ways does REVS address the range anxiety issue associated with electric vehicles?
Well, I think it's interesting. The range anxiety, I think most of it comes from people who don't own electric vehicles. They've just heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have an electric vehicle, and I can tell you, when that electric vehicle runs down to 25% of remaining battery capacity, it's the same anxiety when my car does. If I'm out on the freeway and my car is hitting a 1/16 of a tank, I've got the same anxiety, and you're hoping a gas station shows up. With EVs, it takes a little more planning. And today, but in the future, once we get this network built out, it's going to be much more convenient than a gas station, because you'll pretty much be able to charge your car anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just going to take time to get there.
Love that. Such valuable information shared with us today. Thank you so much. Can you tell the audience where to find you?
Yes, we have a website, and that's probably the easiest way to find us. It's www.refuelevs.com. That's REFUELEVS.com.
Very good. Thank you so much. And with that, we will be right back after this commercial break.